Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant and I'm back with some more vibes for all you. And this one here we're gonna watch is called Is the EU Democratic? Does your vote matter? Well, not mine. I'm not. Yeah, my little country ain't part of the EU, but I'm guessing they're talking about the EU people and thing. So we're gonna see what they have to say about that because at this time, you see Britain is trying to branch out on his own and thing. And I'm assuming that there might be a crumbling going on. Might. You know what I mean? I've watched what the European Union is before. You know what I mean? Uh, I'll leave a link to it, or you can click on it on the ending cards and stuff, and then go watch that one. Learn a little bit about the European Union and thing. But let's go ahead and watch this here and see what's going on with that. All right. Let's YouTube and simmer.
Being a citizen of the European Union means that many aspects of our lives are regulated by a weird entity. It feels like a huge bureaucracy is making decisions over our heads. Many Europeans think that their vote in the EU elections doesn't count and that the EU is not democratic. How democratic is the EU really? And does your vote actually achieve anything? In democratic states, public policies are based on the will of the people. But the people are not a coherent thing. Countless different groups are battling for influence and power to establish laws and rules that benefit them. In a working democracy, there are checks and balances that are supposed to create a fair environment where these battles can be fought. Term limits stop factions from dominating too much. But all of this ends at our borders. International politics are not democratic, but anarchic. No central authority is powerful enough to ensure fairness or enforce laws, so the only law is the tyranny of the strongest and anarchy. So for most of human history, powerful countries took what they wanted from others, either by extortion or by violence. After World War II, the United Nations were founded to overcome this anarchy by establishing rules on how countries should behave. But since the UN has virtually no power, and its members often have opposing interests, it's usually politely ignored. The EU is a construct that tries to have rules and laws for its member nations that are actually enforceable, as the European Court of Justice is able to make binding decisions. Originally, the EU was founded to ensure peace between European nations and prosperity for the continent. But it's also an attempt to gain international power for its members. It's like a superstate, and it's striving to be democratic and legitimized by all of its citizens. To do that, it has to solve the problem of different actors wanting different things. Only that its members are countries with very different priorities. So, how does this work? Since the EU is ridiculously complex, and politicians are even worse than scientists at naming things, we'll simplify massively and omit a lot of details. You can find further reading and explanations in our sources.
Polytricksters, not politicians.
Okay, if you want to create a democratic union of independent nations, you have two options. One, let everybody vote for national politicians who then make decisions for the union together. Or two, let every citizen vote directly for an independent institution that's able to make binding decisions. Both approaches have their upsides and downsides, and the EU ended up with a mix of both of them. Next to the European Court of Justice, there are four main institutions that we'll talk about today. The European Council, which is made up of the heads of government or states of the member countries. The Council of the EU, with ministers from the member countries. The third one is the European Commission, which is the de facto government of the EU, having one commissioner for each member state. And lastly, the European Parliament. The Parliament is the only part of the EU that is directly elected by you.
See, another thing, like greed, is what is sort of innate to human beings, right? From my perspective, which would lead to war. But then again, when does it stop being greed and become survival? Like you have the European Union, and the most powerful countries rule, So obviously, to the powerful get the spoils, right? So what of those who aren't getting the spoils? And what if those who are not getting the spoils are the ones that the spoils are most prevalent in? How do you equally share it? Because big country is gonna go, well, we doing most of the work, or we doing this, or we doing that. Why should they get equal among themselves? We should get the giants share. Hey, how come that don't work for me? I'm a giant. How come I don't get the giant share? Nah, but seriously though, it can't work as long as there's greed there and lust for power. It just can't. And I don't know if humans are capable of that, or at least the ones that's in power are capable of that. Because the ones that are in power are the charismatic, and and we have a warrior mentality anyway in our politics, in our religion. Everything is a warrior mentality as of late. I don't know. That's a tough one there. You know what I mean? And here's the thing about voting and stuff. Like I'll use this country here where I live as an example. People vote a government in, then they tell the government don't get in the business. And I'm thinking, you voted them in to be in your business. But then again, which part of your business should they be in? Should they be regulating abortion and all that other stuff that's pretty much kind of personal? Or should they be regulating the schools, taking care of the schools and infrastructure and stuff that will actually help the people? What they are focusing on is emotional platforms, things that will get people riled up, because most people don't understand healthcare system and how to fix the school system and all of that. They understand low wages because it's affecting them personally. They just don't know how to fix it because they've been told, if you raise wages, that food prices are going to go up. But then again, food prices go up anyway. And then we just vote people in and they do the same thing. And we vote people in and they do the same thing. And nothing is getting fixed. And every year is the same emotionally charged debates that's going on: immigration, abortion, oh, blacks do this, oh, whites do this, oh, this person does that, gay is causing trouble. In the meantime, everybody's just trying to live, you know what I mean? But then when they make these things issues, it undermines democracy, because then, okay, here's how I see it anymore here. Because I talked to a lot of people, and even just yesterday I was talking to somebody at work about this. People want a democratic system, but they want that democratic system to benefit them only. They don't want that government, or that democratically elected government, tell them what to do. They just want that government to tell other people what to do. Be straight, don't be gay. Have an abortion, don't have an abortion. They just want them to, so, you see, democracy is not what the government is, or what you call the government. And this is my perspective. Democracy is what the people allow each other. Allow is not the best word, but for lack of a better word, it's how we live among each other. Hey, that's what you do? You do. It's not affecting me adversely. Whoever want to love whoever, love, do you. What you do is not going to cosmically affect me, you know what I mean? Oh, you do this. Or like, for instance, they would say, oh, the reason why this place have so many storms is because they have gay rights there, or something stupid like that. They're not dealing with the explicit issues. They want to deal with some implicit emotional issues, if that makes any sense. But let's get back to that. I'm rambling here, but I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and having conversations with people about it. And I always come from the human perspective. Everybody. And I've noticed that a lot of people just come from their own worldview and their own perspective, thinking that what I do with my life, on how I live, is going to affect them. Same time, that brings it right back to the EU, like you were saying in here, different countries, different ideologies, different cultures, different ways of looking of how things will affect you and how you get what you want. Let's get going here. Let's keep going here.
Only part of the EU that is directly elected by you, dear citizen, in the European elections. In principle, all of these institutions of the EU originate with a direct or indirect vote at the national or EU level, but some do more than others. For example, you vote for your national representative and therefore contribute to form a national government whose head of state has a seat in the European Council. These choose the president of the EU Commission and its fellow commissioners, who eventually are confirmed by the EU Parliament. So this is a sort of indirect democracy. You didn't vote for the Commission, but you voted for the people who appointed them and for those who
Yeah, but how you trust them?
So, in effect,
Because it's all politicking.
2.5 of the 4 main European Union institutions depend on the member state governments. But since you, as a citizen, can only directly vote for the European Parliament, the question is, how powerful is it? How much influence does your vote have? The European Parliament started out with very little influence, but has become more and more powerful over the past 2 decades. Today, it has to approve new laws, which can be binding for the member countries. It also votes on how the EU budget is spent and on international treaties.
That's too much
All
power.
of this makes the Parliament very powerful, and thus your vote very influential, even on an international level. Compared to national parliaments, one major power is still missing, though. The EU Parliament officially can't propose new laws on its own, which is often the core of the argument that the EU is not democratic enough and that the European Parliament should be given more influence. Right now, the member states' governments pretty much control the European Union. Giving the Parliament more power would make the EU as a whole more democratic, but it would also take power from member states. It's not clear which approach is better. Ultimately, it's for the member states and us as citizens to decide how the union should develop. Okay, so can we draw a conclusion here? As a whole, the EU is not as democratic as most of its member states, but it is democratic. If you don't like decisions they make, regarding copyright for example, you can look up what your representatives voted for and vote them out.
Okay,
The struggle
okay.
to make it more democratic is closely tied to who holds power over what. The EU keeps changing. You, dear citizen, are not only voting on the current politics, but also on what the system will look like in the future. There are many partisan politicians that vow to make the EU Parliament, and therefore your vote, stronger. Many others want to keep it as it is, or even diminish it. It's for you to decide what you think is better for the future of the Union. Currently, it's equally important for the EU who you vote for at home, because these are the people who have the most influence in the European Union right now. Opinion. At home is also where the EU is often used as a scapegoat. Politicians, especially before national elections, like to pretend the EU is all-powerful and makes up rules and laws over the heads of the governments and citizens, although often they were directly responsible for what the EU did. Democracy is
Polytricksters.
annoying and complicated and often very boring.
Can
In the
emphasize
European
that
Union,
more.
even more so than in the member states. But voting and caring about how our political institutions change and develop is one of the most powerful things we can do as citizens. The last few years have shown that extreme things can happen through elections. We have to decide if we want to be an active part of this process. If we don't take part in the struggle for power that is politics, others will, and we might not like what they decide for us. Because Europe is an important topic for us, we've translated this video into as many European languages as possible. A couple of European YouTubers narrated it and uploaded it to their own channels. Thank you to Funk and all YouTubers who helped us. You can find the playlist with all language versions in the description.
Yes. Okay. Well, the referendum. They're polytricksters, they're not politicians. I'm not saying there's not good ones there, but the majority of them is polytricksters. Especially here, or even where I'm from, in my country. They're polytricksters, man. Do they actually do what's best for us? Maybe. But this adversary thing where, I'm this, you're that, and we have to fight, that's not what they're there for. We should be able to vote in people from either side, and those two sides come together and try to figure out how to make life better for us. But they don't. They just have these issues that they pick up and they just fight over it. And every year, every election, you have the same issues coming up. There's a reason for that. Because they really don't want to fix nothing. A lot of them just want to line their pockets. Polytricksters. That's what we should be calling them, man. Politicians sound too genteel for them. Anyway, man, thank you all for watching this with me. Down in the bottom, I'm going to leave it in the description. I'm going to leave a link to this video. Go ahead and click on it, and as you tell, if you speak another language fluently, English is not your first language, boom, they have it in different languages there, so you could go watch it. All right. Also, if you come this far and you have not subscribed, subscribe. Hit the notification button so you know when I'm sending out videos, because you never know, I might get a harebrained idea to upload an extra one sometime during the week. And I don't upload on Saturdays, but who knows? Boom, I might want to upload something on Saturdays. It might not be history. It might just be something, interesting that we could learn something from, all right? You all take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.